So guys, we have got a lot of stuff going on in the sky today. Just to kind of get us started off, we do have a moon in Shatabhishak, and it is headed towards Saturn, who is in Purva Bhadra. So there might be a little intensity with this moon. We also have a Venus-Neptune-Rahu conjunction in Pisces, which could make us feel a little fogged, especially as women and as light workers. So make sure that you're keeping good company these days and not wearing those rose-colored glasses because we're being tested. Additionally, Uranus is in Taurus, getting ready to, is in Aries, getting ready to move into Taurus. So that's going to break up a lot of our infrastructure, our systems, things that we have going on. So we're preparing for that. Jupiter is at 70 degrees at 5 in Taurus. Right on, I'm at 17 degrees and 4. So, and he's retrograding and he's going to go direct right on me. So I am so excited for this transit. Really looking forward to his blessings. If you are in Western Gemini or Sidereal Taurus, you are feeling the blessings of Brihaspati right now. We talked a little bit about him yesterday. So yay, that's some good energy. Then we have Mars, who is currently still retrograde, and that is going through Gemini. So that can cause maybe some hiccups in our communications, a little bit of anger, things like that. So it's best that we kind of retreat from those situations, find our center, and work with our communications in a more positive way. We also have the Rahu Ketu axis in Pisces and Virgo. Ketu in Virgo has really, how do I say this? It's kind of dropped the ball when it comes to our bureaucratic systems. He's getting ready to move out of Virgo and into Libra the next month. But for the last 18 months, we've seen a lot of our systems and the people who are in charge of our systems back off or just not do their responsibilities. And that is because of the eclipses, okay? And then we have a sun and Mercury are together, and they are in Capricorn, sidereal Capricorn right now. And that is occurring in the second house of the United States. So it's important that we look at our finances, what makes us secure, savings, paying attention to what we're eating, things like that, because Pluto is at 7 degrees in Capricorn, sidereal Capricorn right now. And he can cause some disruptions in those areas as well. Now that also affects Abhijit Nakshatra, which is the star of victory. So we can't expect a lot of victories for America because Pluto just went over us. So we're going to have a complete reset for the next 248 years. The last time we went over this was in 1777. A lot happened then too, 1776 to 1777. So that's the energy that we're in now. As far as the continent of the, sorry, not the continent, well, North America is its own thing, but the country of the United States. So that's just some of the main energies going on. And let's see. And I'm glad that means a lot to you, Nancy, because know that you have a community that's surrounding you and giving you a lot of prayers. So that makes me really happy that you guys are there for her. And Jane, you want to get the money out of the bank and into a credit union. Now, I do have some friends that work in the banking industry, and we're still doing some research there. So I'll let you know what we find out. But a lot of our banking systems will be disrupted when Rahu moves into Capricorn, which will not happen for a while. So we can look forward to that. We can expect our communications and our foreign relations to suffer first. So, and I'll keep you guys all in touch with what we're going there. Credit unions are what a lot of people here in Mexico that are expats are using, and they're finding better luck with them than they are institutional banks. So that's definitely something I'll continue to look into as well. And I have some clients that are in banking, like heavy into banking, like CFOs. So I'll ask them for their opinions too. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the lunar energy today. We are in Shatabhishak nakshatra. This is a very beautiful moon. The lovely rooted willow has her moon here. My moon is right on the cusp between Dhanishta and Shatabhishak. And Shatabhishaks have a very interesting journey on this planet. They are, at the time of birth, subject to Rahu, which is a very demonic energy. So they could feel like foreigners in their own homes. They also deal with a lot of demonic personalities as children that they have to kick as adults. The reason for this is because they came into this birth to face every single demon that they've ever encountered in all of their past lives and take them on head on. It is a very difficult nakshatra to go through. Michelle Obama has this. I'm on the cusp of this with her. Marina and Allie have this. That's why they're such amazing spiritual warriors. Samantha, you have this. So it is an incredibly powerful moon, okay? It represents 100 demons and 100 healers, if you can see up here. See, and but that 100 demons, with every demon that they how do I say this, conquer, they replace with a divine physician. And so with especially Shatabhishaks that are further along in life, they tend to be healers for the collective, especially for people who are battling demonic energies, fogging, things like that. All of us have our little demon and our little angel. That's why it's called Kali Yuga. We're all born with that demonic influence as well as the angelic influence or the more divine influence. And the determination of where we go next is who we feed more, okay, who we listen to more, who we let direct us more. And what Shatabhishak can do is with every demon that they conquer, which is multiple in this birth because they're taking them all on, they take on a healer, and that healer can then go out into the collective and start really helping us all out. So it's pretty amazing. Now, it's also ruled by Varuna. Varuna is the god of the ocean. Apas is the elemental attached to this, which is water. And so what that represents is the washing away of tamas, of dirt, of ignorance that this nakshatra can do and then help others do. So it's basically stepping into divinity on a lot of levels, and it's a really beautiful moon to step into. So it's a good place to be, in my opinion. And I get along really well with Shatabhishak because I'm around this energy and it's in my chart. I want to go into who owns the day. That is our Dina Lord, and that is Shukra, also known as Venus. Today is Viernes, Friday. So Friday is owned by Venus. That's why that's such a great time to have a date night or do things for our relationships, buy flowers, do self-care, like taking that bubble bath, buying that perfume. That's all Venus Day stuff. So I'll show you guys what Venus looks like in one of the, I have my own depictions of Venus in my own cards, which I'll show you at some point. But this is in Hindu Gods and Goddesses by Swami Harshananda. And here is the beautiful Venus. This is Shukra. Okay. Shukra's color is white. Shukra's animal is the horse. Okay. Ashwini are known as the horses. So Ashwa. So that is the main animal for them, the white horse especially. And to honor Shukra, I wore white today. And they also say that wearing diamonds, white sapphires, white topaz, things like that are the various stones for Lord Shukra. And Lord Shukra is the guru to the demons. That's why Shatabhishak is so important as a part of this dynamic, because what Shatabhishak can do is help us battle our demons. So I thought that was really a good correlation between the two. So that's our Graha Devata. Now Venus rules my ascendant. If you have a Venus ruled ascendant, you're probably you're more good looking. Okay, that's what Venus does. It's if you have an ascendant in Libra or Taurus, Venus gives you that extra okay. So that is one of the benefits of having an ascendant there. If your moon is in Venus, you can be very luxury driven, but you can also be a teacher for others if you're able to transmute that into more spiritual energy. So that is the Graha Devata, is Venus or Shukra today. Now the Adi Devata, she helps us with our minds, is Indrani. Indrani is the wife of Indra, queen of the gods, and she is a beautiful goddess who helps direct and protect the divine feminine. So a really good mantra for her is Om Indraniye Namaha. And that is very, very simple. And the Pratyadi is interesting. It's Indra. He's king of the gods. And so a really simple mantra for him is Om Indraya Namaha. And so Indra is king of the gods. He's also the wielder of lightning. Both Indra and Indrani wield lightning in their hands. That's why their main Nama mantra is Hasta. So it's Om Gajatvajaya Vidmahe Vajrahastaya Dhimahi Tanno Indrani Prachodayata. They have lightning in their hands, okay? So that's the really, and then Indra's is Om Sahasranetraya Vidmahe Vajrahastaya Dhimahi Tanno Indra Prachodayata. So they are the wielders of lightning. And when I was sitting in meditation, they identified themselves as the planet Uranus. So if you want to see how Indra and Indrani are working throughout your life, the wielders of lightning, because with every male deity, there's a female one, because there's both in the Vedas. That's what I love about them. They're very inclusive. And they both are very powerful. The females can be more powerful than males at times. It's pretty cool. That's what I love about the Vedic literature. So they bring lightning into our lives. And Shatabhishak, as you can see, there's a lot of lightning coming out of this particular moon, okay? What that does is it creates these lightning-like moments, these like sudden, unexpected events in our lives that make us change course and get on the right path. They're like, nope, don't go there. Boom, lightning strike, okay? So that's kind of how that energy works. And they help us with our mind, because our mind is electric. Our neurological system is run by electricity. Vani is electricity in the Vedic terminology, and he is the son of Agni, which is fire, because he's a form of fire. So, which is lightning as well. Then we also worship goddess Lakshmi on this day, because she is the goddess of abundance, and that's what Shukra and Venus is all about. Once we realize that our material abundance isn't making us happy, Lakshmi will give us spiritual abundance, and that comes in the form of this. So if you can see, there's coins coming out of one hand, and there's divine Amrita, which is immortality coming out of another, the jar, okay? So we can either take from her spiritual renewal and understanding in Amrita from the divine, or we can ask her for coins and houses and cars and all of those things. Now, both she happily gives, because some of us really have to go through a lot of material existences, especially if we've got a lot of planets in Leo and things like that, because we have to understand the material before we can enter into the spiritual and go through that process. That's what the nakshatras are for. They show us each stage of human life and birth as we come into these human experiences, and they bring us from the more tamasic elements, which are very material, to the more rajasic elements, which are growth, and into the sattvic elements, which represent the bloom of the lotus, the understanding of spirituality. So that's why she sits on the lotus, because she has transcended all of those, and she helps us. So a really good mantra for Lakshmi is Om Hrim Shrim Lakshmi Veyo Namaha. Om Hrim Shrim Lakshmi Veyo Namaha. Om Hrim Shrim Lakshmi Veyo Namaha. And you can do all of these lovely mantras via a mala. And with each mala, you hold it like this between your middle finger and your thumb, and you just go like this with each bead. And there's 108, and 108 is a very auspicious number. It's part of quantum mechanics. It's a very scientific number, and what it does is it helps us cleanse some of the tamas, some of the ignorance off of our soul, and enter into those more rajasic ways of being, which leads to that beautiful lotus bloom, which is sattva. The passage that I picked out today is from Concentration and Meditation. This is from Swami Sivananda, and you can find this at sivananda.org or at divinelifesociety.org. It's free, okay? So we're going to talk a little bit about the lower nature, because the moon's in Shatabhishak, and we're fighting our lower natures in order to rise up to those higher realms, those lokas of being and seeing and recognizing and being more a part of divinity. So, so the petty, obstinate egoism, which actuates the human personality, is a serious obstacle in meditation or the path of self-realization. That's getting closer to that lotus with, Buddha and Vishnu and Jesus. And so this little self-aggregating principle supports its surface thoughts and dominates its habitual ways of feeling, character, and action. So we took many, many births as plant, mineral, animal, human, and we've developed these personalities based on our likes and dislikes. And when we're stepping into divinity, we're being asked to give up those personalities, those likes and dislikes, and step into vairagya, which is dispassion, and jnana, which is divine wisdom. Okay. This is rajasic and tamasic egoism. Rajasic is very active, very passionate, where tamasic is ignorant and not quite aware yet of what's happening, or very encased in material duties. This conceals or covers the higher divine or sattvic nature. It veils the self-luminous immortal soul or Atma. The way I like to describe sattva, tamas, and rajas is like the lotus. I mentioned that before. But also, like if you take a beautiful stained glass lamp and you put a bunch of towels on it, you can't see the light, right? So you start doing rajasic activities and the towels start to come off all the way until you get this beautiful stained glass lamp, right? But there's still glass surrounding the lamp. That's more rajas, okay? That's the many names and forms, and you've managed to come to a point where you are developing a spiritual practice, but it's based around some kind of religion or deity or ishta devotee. Once you take that stained glass cap off, it's just a bare bowl. That's sattva. You're seeing everything for the reality in which it is. But it is very difficult to be a sattvic soul or personality in Kali Yuga, which is the age that we're living in, because it's a very dark age and a very materialistic age. So they're not really supporting the sadhus or the holy people or this type of knowledge. So we have to charge money for it. We have to charge material assets for it because we're not being supported by an ashram or a temple, and we have to pay for all of this to happen. So that's kind of why Kali Yuga is harder for more sattvic souls, because we have to think tamasically and rajasically in order to get the message across, if that makes sense. A little bird just agreed with me outside. So you may have an aspiration for the truth. You may be endowed with devotion. You may possess a will to overcome obstacles and hostile forces. I think that's why we're all here in the spiritual community to begin with. If the little ego asserts or persists, if the external personality has not consented to change or transformation, that's fun. You cannot have rapid progress on the spiritual path. It will have its own ways and inclinations. Now, one of the reasons I think my husband and I needed to move away from our environment was we needed to move away from the material things that we had developed over time. My husband had over 40 years of it, so it was much harder for him, and he's got a moon in Leo. So it's harder for Leo moons than Aquarian moons to, like what I have, to do this, because I'm more air, he's more fire, he's passion, he's rajas, I'm moving into ether. So what that means is that the lower nature must be thoroughly regenerated. You have to completely start over. Okay, I'm not telling you to sell all your stuff and move if that's not what your soul is calling you. You could still be figuring out the more material realms in order to step into rajas and sattva. So find out where your soul is at before you really jump into spirituality, because you can lose your footing. It's important to take things one step at a time. And oh, you used to belong to the Self-Realization Fellowship in the 80s. I think Jonathan knows a little more about that. That's interesting, Jane. Very cool. And good morning, Samantha. We were just talking about you. If you roll it back a little bit, you are having a lunar return right now. So the moon is in Shatabhishak. Okay. So it's lovely to see you, honey. Oh, and you have the concentration and meditation book. Excellent. Okay, so when it comes to the various how do I say this, years or publication years, be careful of some of them and where it's been published, because there are a few directors that edited parts of it and they were a little misogynistic. So if you run across that, that's not Swami Sivananda. That is one of the directors putting their own opinion in there. So just be aware of some of the books coming out of there, especially from the 50s, because there were a few directors that edited the books and they put their own stuff in there. You'll be able to tell when you read it, okay? But he was a guru that initiated women, and this was in the 1800s into the 1900s, which was like, oh, women can't be swamis, women can't be this, da, 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 da. And there was a lot of pushback, and they put it in some of his books. And so that's the only warning that I have with some of his literature, is there might be some misogynistic edits in there. And those were not from Sivananda. Those were from directors that didn't like what he was doing, and they came in like little creepers, okay? I had to do a deep dive into that because I bought one of his books and went, this does not sound like Sivananda. And I did a little research and went, oh, got it. And I found out who the rat was. Okay. Okay. We're speaking of lower nature right now, so that fits right into this. All right. So the habitual lower personality of the sadhaka must be entirely changed. If this is not done, any spiritual experience or power is of no value. This little ego or human personality persists in retaining its petty, limited, selfish, ignoble, false, and ignorant human consciousness. Any amount of tapas, that's our austerities, or sadhana will bear no fruit. Those are the things that we do to stay connected to our guides. This means that if you do not really thirst for God realization, it is nothing more than an idle curiosity. Okay, so you want to make sure that if you step into a new practice that you're not just going, oh, what's that about? That's really interesting. you want to step in with your full heart, because otherwise you're not going to get the full benefit. The aspirant says to the preceptor, I want to practice yoga. I want to enter into Nirvikalpa Samadhi. I want to sit at your feet. But he does not want to change his lower nature or his old habits. He wants to have his old ways and his old habits and his old character and his old behavior and his old conduct. He doesn't want to give up his personality. One of the best examples of this, I read an autobiography of a yogi, and Yogananda talked about how Babaji, not the Babaji that was known for back in the day, not being nice to his female students. We're talking about the Babaji. You can look him up. He is basically a divine immortal yogi that has manifested for centuries and not given up the body. And it's very difficult to find him. So this Western aspirant, and I say Western to make a point, was trying to climb various parts of the Himalayas to find the esteemed, amazing Babaji, who can basically at an atomic level appear and reappear. That's how tapped into the divine energy he is and how much control he has over Maya, which is a divine dream we're living in. And so he's been doing this for years. He's given up everything he has. All he has on his mind is to find his divine guru. And so he finally comes across this cave and he sees Babaji and he goes, oh, Babaji, I've been searching for over 4 years in the Himalayas for you. I've given up family and life and everything. Please make me your student and preceptor. Please let me sit at your feet and learn from you. And Babaji goes, you're not ready yet. You're still attached to the old Western ways of thinking and being. Even though you gave that up, your mind isn't ready. And he goes, Babaji, I will throw myself upon the rocks if you do not take me as your student. He goes, then do it. And then he did. And so then Babaji goes, go get his body. And they brought it up and he was able to reatomize him. Now, please don't jump off cliffs, everybody. Okay, this is just a parable. So take this as a, from the book of yoga, from the autobiography of a yogi, take it as a parable. So he brings it up, we reatomize it, and goes, now he's ready. He had a little bit of karma, a little bit of attachment left, and that was to the body that he needed to get rid of in order to follow Babaji. So the whole parable, the meaning behind that story is that we have to give up everything, even attachment to our own bodies, in order to enter into this Nirvikalpa Samadhi under a divine guru. It's a lot of sacrifice, guys. So just keep that in mind if you're really, really dead set on trying to develop a spiritual lifestyle and head into this path, because it's going to take a lot of sacrifice along the way. Okay. And then let's see. If the aspirant or yogic student declines to change his petty or lower nature, or if he refuses to admit the need for change of his lower habitual personality, he can never make even an iota of real spiritual advancement. Any partial or temporary elevation, slight occasional inspiration during some exalted moments, or any momentary spiritual opening within without any true radical transformation of the lower nature or habitual little personality is of no practical value. So basically, you can make little baby steps along the path, but they're not deep enough to make a scar. What we call in yoga past lives are samskaras. Samskaras are literally scars that we're remembering from a past life. Like if I see Ketu and Mars conjunct in someone's chart, I go, oh, you've got a big samskara. You were in some wars in a past birth and you're remembering them in this birth. That's why, some children, they'll just wake up with nightmares. They'll have battle scenes in their heads. And it's like, you've never been to battle, you're 3. And it's because in a previous birth, they've got that memory still. It's still lingering for them. There are other children with samskaras who are, incredible musicians like Mozart, who was at 2-3 years old playing the violin and creating his own concertos. That's because he carried that samskara into this birth. What samskaras do is they're deep, deep scars. They're big transformation, radical stuff that just shakes us out of our core, so that we remember them when we take on a new brain, a new body, and a new experience as a human. If they're that deep and that long and that persistent, we can carry them with us. But if we make these little baby steps, they can be forgotten when we go from one human birth to another. That's why it's so important to dig really deep into your spiritual practice so that you remember these things. That's why I do the mantras in the morning and at night, every single night. When I'm cooking, when I'm cleaning, I've got the mantras. I've got the mantras, because what those do is they form grooves in the brain, remembrances, so that when I'm born, I can just pick them up. Okay. That's what my guru told me. She's like, you got Mercury Ketu conjunction in Pisces. You're remembering the Shastras. You're remembering the various mantras. And I was able to step into it a lot faster because of a previous birth where I sat in this and I did the practice. If you're able to do that on an everyday habitual level, that forms that beautiful samskara that you can take to the next birth, just like a musician or just like someone who's been through a major war or trauma. Okay? So this change of the lower nature is not easy. The force of habit is ever strong and inveterate. It demands great strength of will. The aspirant often feels helpless against the force of old habits. He will have to develop his sattva, that's purity, and will, and to a considerable degree through regular japa, that's recitation of mantras, kirtan, that's singing the mantras and being in company, meditation, that's sitting in meditation, and untiringly self-service. So it's putting the collective before yourself. And satsang, which is good company. It's so important to keep good company. That's why I tell people that are in abusive relationships or have family members that are not acting right, you need to practice better satsang. It's okay to walk away from connections that no longer serve you or your soul because you're being asked to graduate to the next level. Okay? He must introspect and find out his own defects and weaknesses. He must live under the guidance of a guru. The guru finds out his defects and points out suitable ways to eradicate them. So that's the main energy that I get from this moon in Shatabhishak is as we face life's demons, as we face the things from our past that come up, and the demons are not like these little horn guys coming out and going, hee hee. They're basically the bad samskaras that lead us into ignorance, okay? And that is the beauty of the moon in Shatabhishak, because with every habit that is tamasic and grounded in that little ego that we defeat, we're able to become a healer for others. And that's part of the tireless service to the collective that the Shatabhishaks have. Tamantha has this in spades, and she's a Shatabhishak. You did this with your son's cat. You know, he was being mistreated, and then you took that cat in your care and you went, okay, let's correct this, sweetie. Let's make this better. And the cat turned completely around because you're a divine healer. That's one of your beautiful gifts. You're a physician because you are able to take those demonic elements and heal them. It's a beautiful, beautiful moon to have. So I'm very thankful that you're in the chat and that we can bounce things off of you. So this is from the Bhagavad Gita. It's one passage. Okay, it's from Swami Sivananda. Again, you guys can get this on sivananda.org or divinelifesociety.org. Some by meditation behold the self, by the self, and others by the yoga of knowledge, and still others by the yoga of action. There are several paths to reach the knowledge of the self according to the nature or temperament or capacity of the individual. All right, I'm going to jump to the next one. Others, not knowing this, because we do live in Kali Yuga, a time of ignorance, thus worship, having heard it from others, they too cross beyond death, regarding what they have heard of as the supreme refuge. You don't have to know all the sastras, the Upanishads, or all of the divine knowledge in order to enter into samadhi and enter into divinity. That's because Kali Yuga is a time of darkness. That's the time that we're living in now. If you simply, with great faith and devotion, do these practices without having seen or studied a lot of this, but you're following a preceptor, you too can enter into the divine realms, which is beautiful because it's very difficult to access them from this point in history on Earth because it is dark, guys. Okay, I know you guys are feeling it too. That's why you're here. All right. Oh, good. I'm so glad that you can do some of those poses, and let me know how they work for you. Okay, those are the ones that kind of help me with restless legs. And if they don't, I can give you a few more, and I'll try to bring Swami's. Let me see. I think I have one of Swami's books, and I'll show you some of the poses in that. Okay, so there are three paths: the yoga of meditation, the yoga of knowledge, and the yoga of action. To attain the knowledge of the self were described in the previous verse. Now the yoga of worship is described. This is the easiest way to get to the higher realms. Okay, that's why I'm sharing it with you. It's bhakti yoga. Some who are ignorant of the methods described in all of the previous verses, that's like a lot of knowledge, stepping into the sastras, the Upanishads, all of that's a lot of study, that's yana, being under the direct direction of a God-realized sage. Not a lot of them going around right now. So this is the way through, okay, guys? Okay, so if you're ignorant to some of the methods described in the previous verse, listen to the teachings of the spiritual preceptors regarding this great truth or the self with an intense, unshakable faith. solely depending on the authority of others' instructions, and through constant remembrance and contemplation of them attain immortality. So you don't have to know everything, but if you do the practice and you do it with devotion, that's all it takes. I was told literally, if you are thinking of your divine Ishtadevi at death, you become one with them in your next birth. That's how easy it is. But at the time of death, we're thinking about all the stuff from our past lives and this life. If you're able to push through that, all of those samskaras, and see divinity and really search for them, you're in. Okay. In the other yugas, like Satyu, where the gods are just walking around, you have to do this for millions of years. It's a lot more work. Okay. So through constant remembrance and contemplation of them, they attain immortality. They are devoted to their preceptor. Some study of books written by realized seers, that's this, stick with great faith to the teachings contained therein and live according to them. Now, Sivananda, he left the physical body in 1963. He entered Nirvikalpa Samadhi, which he gave up the body right before the South Path started. So he was on the last train out, and he left during the Saraswati Yoga, which gave us all of these free books. Okay, so I follow him. They also overcome death. Whatever path one follows, one eventually attains the knowledge of the self and final liberation from birth and death. That's that wheel of samsara we're all trying to get off of, which represents the astrology wheel. With all these births that we're taking and learning things, we're entering all of these different phases of existence. Okay. So they can gain salvation or moksha. There are several paths to suit aspirants of different temperaments and equipments. Now, some are more bhakti, some are more jnana. We all have our own way of connecting to divinity. Freeing oneself of ignorance with its effects through the knowledge of the self is crossing the samsara or attaining immortality or overcoming death or attaining release or salvation. So last thought determines next birth. And our last thought is basically a collection of all of the things that we brought from this life and all of our past lives forward. And we present these to Chitragupta, who is the keeper of the Akashic records, who brings them to Yama, the god of death. And these guys all have different names and various religious understandings and philosophies. I'm actually reading a really good book on death right now, and it combines all of the various world religions into the Vedic principles. And so you're able to apply your particular deity or Ishtadevati, whether it's Christian or Muslim or even the Zoroastrians, they even go into that, that combine all into this philosophy. And what you do is, if you can remember that Ishtadevati and the philosophies behind it, and it's able to overhaul all of those past lives as, mineral, animal, human, and, hopefully, gaining more access to the divine realms, we're able to completely merge. Even the devas are jealous of human births because these are very difficult to get. To gain a human birth is extremely rare, and it takes a lot of work to get here. So even though this is a place of suffering, suffering is actually seen as a good thing by the devas because it brings them closer to divinity. It's seen as a bad thing from the demons, especially death and pain and things like that, because they're from the netherworlds where everything's comfortable and provided for them. They don't want to do that. They want to go back there where they're provided and taken care of, where everything's covered in gold and diamonds and things are great. That's why you see a lot of kings and things today, like with their golden toilet seats and their giant yachts and things like that, because they're from those realms. That's what they're used to. So they're just recreating it. Okay. All right. Oh, it's lovely to see you, Gerald. Oh, we really appreciate you. Oh my goodness. And I agree with that too. So that was actually was that Sivananda or Swami Vishnudevananda, Jonathan? It was from Shivananda. Okay. And then he taught it to Swami Vishnudevananda. So I pulled a few oracle cards for us today, just kind of honor Venus's day or Viernes. And the first card I picked was sustenance. So do what makes you feel good today. Have that little treat, okay? If there is something that makes you feel really good, because you can see Ganesha here, he's got all of his favorite treats in front of him. Venus is all about enjoying the material things and blessings that Goddess Lakshmi gives us, okay? So today is a good day for a date night. It's a good day to, if it's healthy, go out and get an ice cream, or buy something pretty, or do something, with your hair, something just fun and luxurious, because that's what that kind of can help us balance out the material and the spiritual path a little bit. like I plan on, like we went to a beautiful market yesterday and we got some amazing fruits and vegetables and things like that. And so I plan on making a really good meal for Jonathan and I, and we're really going to enjoy it. So that's just something I plan on doing along with, I might plan a haircut for Jonathan because his hair is getting a little long, something like that. So something that we can do to make us feel good, physically, because that's what sustenance does. We have to take care of these bodies because they hold our souls. Okay. The second card I picked was priorities, and you can see Ganesha's holding a lotus here, and that emphasizes the importance of your values, especially during these dark times. So the lotus here, that symbolizes the realization of your potential. And I talked about how we are encased in tamas as a seed, and then we rise up through the stalk, that's rajas, and we become the bloom at the top, that's sattva. The bloom cannot exist without the roots. So we have to have a balance of all three in order to be level. Okay. So this card is encouraging you to know what you truly want out of life and to go for it, because that's what Venus does for us. If it's something more material, go for it. If it's something more like passionate and rajasic, go for it. It's like a goal that you want to complete, do it. If it's something that if there's a new spiritual understanding that you want to kind of take on and move into, or a practice, do it. Do you. We're all on different modes of this path, and in balancing these things out, we can keep ourselves balanced. I noticed it with people who have too much sattva, they're ungrounded, they're floating. They don't have the support of the root system or the stalk. So it's important not to do too many spiritual remedies because they can unground you. So it's important to maintain that grounded focus. And I think that's why I got sustenance. You don't want to do too much. Even Sivananda and Buddha said we did too much with spiritual realization. We did too much to our bodies. So, and that these are the great sages that are telling us this, like, make sure that you're taking care of the body, but you're also not giving it too much care because that builds too much tamas, because it's here to give us a spiritual understanding. Okay. Today's a day to make most of your time. Do things that can't be saved for later, because that's what priorities are. So one thing that you can do is, this is what I do every day before I go to bed, and this helps me not wake up in the middle of the night and go, I forgot that, is I make lists. And because I'm a Vedic astrologer, I have a hora for every day. So there's Saturn hora, there's Venus hora, there's Mercury hora, there's Mars hora. And I go, oh, Mars, let's do something active. Venus, let's do something, more like self-care related. Oh, Moon, let's do something that's going to help nurture my emotional state and keep me at a more equilibrium based way of thinking and being. Okay. Saturn, okay, time for service, time to take Rosie for a walk, make her meal, clean the house, things like that. So things that can't be put off, go ahead and do those things today, because they are being supported. And know that every single day that we're on Earth is a gift. So you have the option to make the most out of what life is giving you right now. And if you're longing to create a little more organization in your life, this is being supported. And if the lists work for you, they work for me, that's great. If you have another methodology that works really well for you, please do that. But your priorities will be visible to you by how you use your time. So if you're not really clear what they should be, look into how you're spending your time and whether or not it is benefiting you or not. And choose the most beneficial activities to really put your focus on. So this could be involving your education, your occupation, your place of residence, your marriage, the way you parent. Think about how your decisions are making an impact on yourself and the world around you as you do this. And share these with others, okay? Because I think that it's important that we bring love and blessings to people today, especially with Venus, because Venus rules the Anahata, that's the heart chakra. And it's important that we make those beautiful connections. So, okay. All right. So the last card I pulled for today, before I sign off, is I got joy. Okay. Now in this card, Ganesha and Mushak are going to a wedding. You can see here by the little Shiva Shakti Lingam, which represents the union of the divine feminine and masculine. And the divine feminine and masculine that exists in all of us. Some of us have more divine feminine, some of us have more divine masculine, because we've had multiple births in different genders. So there are women with more divine masculine, men with more divine feminine, and vice versa. So embracing that part of yourself today and really seeing the union that you can have with others and celebrating it, because they've got these beautiful aruku flowers that they're bringing to a wedding. They brought the little pot of their little gift that they're going to bring to the happily married couple, and they're getting ready. They're excited. So this is a really great day for those date nights, those celebrations, celebrating our relationships. Okay, so if you have a husband or a wife, if you have a little dog that you love, if you have a best friend, anyone that really, really sings to your heart. Like when I was single on Venus days, I would literally just hang out with my little dog Bella, because she was my heart. And she and I, like, I take her like to the puppies, like to the Petco, and we get like a little treat or something like that. Or we would go on a walk to her favorite place, or I would just like rub her tummy, and we'd watch a show that I know what she likes the sound of, like whether it be horses or something in the background, something that you can do with a person, a place, or a thing that makes you feel loved and of course sustained. Okay, because it's important to balance the material and the spiritual life. That's what Venus reminds us of. We can't do too much austerity, because then it can be an overhaul. One of the best examples I got from this in meditation was, I asked Vishnu, what does too much austerity look like? And he goes, close your eyes. And so, okay. He goes, I want you to imagine you're a sage, all right? And you're a sage in India for 3 births, and you've never seen a woman. I'm like, okay. And he goes, and it's because women are a major problem for you. I'm like, okay. He goes, you had lust for them in past lives, and you think that going up in this fountain and sitting in this dark cave for 3 births is going to get all women out of your head. And so you finally reach that samadhi state, and you open your eyes, and what do you see? And I opened my eyes, and I said, who's at Vishnu's feet? Lakshmi, the divine feminine. So if I enter the divine masculine, the divine feminine is right across from me. He goes, most sages fall when they open my eyes and they see goddess Lakshmi, who is how do I say this? She is the most beautiful, divine, amazing thing you've ever seen in your life. Like, you can't stand straight looking at Lakshmi. It's just like, whoa, it's incredible. And so you've been away from women for 3 births. You open your eyes to see the most beautiful divine feminine entity in front of you, because that's the other half of his soul. And they fall because they're like, they can't take it. So that's too much. Okay, so it's important that we are still taking care of the more worldly things, but not being attached to them. That's the vairagya, that's the dispassion. And then the jnana is the knowledge that we gain along the way. So sitting up by yourself is not necessarily the best way of attaining those higher realms of existence, unless you have truly and fully understood what your stumbling blocks are in life. And that every day is a gift, and I hope that you're all using it in the way that best serves you and your soul's growth, and that I am sending you all love as you do that. But I hope you guys all have a wonderful, wonderful Friday, a Venus day, and that you have a lovely weekend, and I will see you soon. Sending you lots of love.